So we're here in the WiT Studio with Dennis Van Noord, Chief Business Officer of Mystifly. Dennis, so I wanted to start by asking you, as a tech company, how does Mystifly approach artificial intelligence, AI, and adoption? And are there AI projects in your pipeline?
Right. Yes, we do, to answer your question. I think it started off really with building the technology, the NLP or AI, if you will, for being able to read unstructured fare rules from the airlines, anything penalty related, to help with the process of structuring and automating the process for servicing, right? So post-booking automation for change and cancellation.
Right.
The tools have been built already a long time ago, used by our own operations team, the customer service team. And now is also being rolled out already for quite a while to a lot of our customers that can help them to really again, automate the process for anything customer service. That's how it kind of started. Now it's a lot more, what can you do with big data? Right? Because we have a long history of data from the original model as a content aggregator. But we shifted recently now to more of a platform as a service business model. So there's a lot of new data flowing in as well. So we have a bit of learning there to be done as well, but we can do with anything AI related. But it's definitely, it's part of our, let's say, DNA in the organization. And what can you do to just get better at it?
Right. And to amplify that, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what are the biggest challenges in the aviation and payment verticals at the moment, would you say?
Payments. Well, it's interesting to see how it's very, well, let me just first say the industry is shifting really from an old tech environment into a new tech setup, but that includes also anything payments. Where you see now the airlines and travel sellers want to work more closely directly with each other, where payments is a part of it. But still, all the transactions that are being done still goes through an older system, BSPs. And we're trying to solve for now to bridge that between, say, supply and demand, airlines and travel sellers. So what can we do now with new solutions that we're currently building? We've already solved for it on the airline side for payments. We're now solving also for it on the distribution side, the travel sellers. And then how can we be the bridge between these two demand and suppliers and act as essentially as a clearinghouse for the companies? So that's where we want to also play a role in the ecosystem of anything payments.
Right. And what would you say is the sort of, are the obstacles to making that happen? Is it like a tech thing, a talent thing, resources?
I think it's a bit more on the tech side.
Right.
Right. But it's, so we're now also expanding our team with people with payment backgrounds to think about how can we create a better solution these days from a tech perspective. And basically, again, just facilitate the process to make it more of a direct connect again between the demand and supply.
Right. So it's about connecting them, creating a communication between all these different moving parts. Right. Right. What trends do you foresee in this space in 2024? Since we are at the end of the year, 2023 is almost done. What do you foresee and what do you hope to see?
Hope to see a lot more going direct.
Right.
Because that's essentially where we play a very big role in this space.
Right.
Right. The market has always been heavily dominated by the GDS, and for all the right reasons.
Right.
But you can see that also, again, the airlines, they want to figure out also ways of going more direct now, whether that's their own B2C channels, but also figuring out more direct connection on the B2B side. It's essentially started about, let's say, 12 years ago by IATA about figuring out the NDC connections.
Yeah.
And I think that this is now a transition that's happening, or a lot of it call it a hybrid moment that we're currently in, moving from the older ticketing system using your PNR's e-tickets to going into this new space known as offer order. So what can we do to play a role there to help both on the airline side as well as on the travel seller side, and think about okay, how can we support the industry during this transition?
Right.
Yeah.
I like that you mentioned NDC because that leads me into my next question. What are your thoughts on NDC first? And now that it has picked up more buzz than ever, right? What are the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead in the NDC space now?
I think the challenges based on our learnings lies a lot more on the airline side.
Right.
Right. What can airlines do to build the new solutions, the new technology, anything NDC, right? Using the new protocols or new APIs, if you will. But where some of them starting to nail this, which is great for us because it's easier for us to connect. But we're also having conversations with some of the airlines who struggle, and what can we do as a company to help them to build these new connections or these new NDC pipelines. Yeah, and I think the longer term, whether it's really anything NDC related, there's a lot more discussion about what they know now as OOSD, so offer, order, settlement, delivery, right? And I think that's kind of the path that we're going to be on for the next, say, 5, 10, maybe 15 years.
Is that why, or in your opinion, is that why NDCs have become more popular now than ever before? Because they've been in conversation for a long, long time, right? People have been talking about NDCs for a long time, but it's only recently that they're picking up a lot of steam. Do you think that's why?
I think, and I was like a couple of weeks ago at another conference in London, and there's a lot of discussion on this front. And I kind of agree with what was discussed there, where COVID did help a bit here in building these new solutions because there was some time and space and new investments being done to finally figure this out. A lot of companies have been very skeptic about anything NDC for a long, long time. But I think that's now transitioning. And again, coming out of COVID, which is maybe a bit of a positive side effect, is that slowly the industry is getting ready for this new tech known as NDC.
Right, right. What regions and markets do you think are most difficult to get into, and the ones that you want to get into in the future, and why?
Obviously, every region or even country for that matter with its own challenges.
Right.
Of course, US always being like one of the biggest opportunity markets, but also very fierce competition. But I think we see there the transitioning happening now with the full service carriers moving away from the GDSs. So the opportunities are presenting itself. So we're now onboarding some pretty big accounts in the US onto this platform as a service known as SSP or Smart Selling Platform. And I think that we can pick up some pretty good business for many years to come, starting with the US. Europe, of course, different ballgame, a lot of also heavily dominated by LCCs. That's where we need to just make sure that we get all these LCCs on board. We already work with close to 60 airlines directly in the company, of which 1/3 full service, 2/3 LCCs. Coming into Asia, I'd say it's a bit of a slower adoption at this stage, although some companies have already done a pretty good job at figuring this out, like Singapore Airlines as an example.
People always talk about China as a completely different beast when it comes to markets, right? But I'm guessing the US is also very, very unique and very dynamic in a way, and it's completely its own thing, right?
Yeah. China, it's you don't just think I take on Asia and China is part of it. No, China is a strategy of its own that you need to figure out. I've been there, done it also in previous jobs. China is a market, I think, as a non-Chinese company, you need to think of really about partnerships. If you can establish partnerships and you can add some serious value to the big OTAs, for instance, or TMCs or the airlines, you have a chance of doing some good business with the Chinese companies.
And if you don't have that, it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it also with the likes of a Google, a Facebook, an Uber, right? It's just, you don't just get it off the ground like that in China thinking, I'm going to take on this market myself. It's a market for partnerships.
Right. Different beast. So my last question would be, what is the role of the human in your vertical with tech and AI advancing so rapidly? So where does the human come in?
Well, I think it's still at this stage, we're going to need human beings for a long time because of the shift of this industry. So you're still going to need, I think, the human brain for a long time to think about building new solutions, being creative in solutioning anything, challenges in the market. AI is going to help us, support us in all our ambitions to grow the company. But I think we still have a long way to go as we transition again from old to new tech. And I don't think you just can only solve this by AI. AI is going to be a very important supporting part of all that we're going to do over, let's say, the years to come.
Right. Dennis, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too, Arvindh.